Why did Vladimir Putin give the West a warning just 1 year before Russian tanks rolled into Georgia? It was February 2007. At the Munich Security Conference, Putin took the stage before some of the most powerful leaders in the West. The room was formal, diplomatic, almost routine until he began speaking. And then he delivered a warning. For nearly 2 decades, the United States had stood virtually unchallenged. The Cold War was over, the Soviet Union was gone, and Washington had stepped into a position of global dominance. NATO had expanded deep into Eastern Europe, moving steadily closer to Russia's borders. And at the same time, Washington was preparing missile defense systems in Poland and the Czech Republic. To the West, it was security. To Moscow, it looked like encirclement. Putin had had enough. He denounced what he called a unipolar world, a world dominated by a single center of power. He argued that this system was not just unfair, but unstable. He accused the United States of overstepping its borders and treating international law as optional. And he called NATO's expansion a serious provocation against Russia. The tone in the room shifted. Some leaders listened closely. Others looked uncomfortable. A few dismissed it as political theater. But then came an even darker warning. If the balance of power continued to unravel, Putin argued, the result could be a new arms race. Not a theoretical one. A real one. One that the world might not be able to control. To many in the West, it sounded like the angry rhetoric of a wounded former superpower, nostalgic, defensive, even bitter. Something to note, but not necessarily to fear. But history was already moving in a different direction. Behind the speeches and headlines, tensions were hardening. Lines were being drawn, and alliances were quietly being tested. Just 18 months later, explosions illuminated the Caucasus. Russian columns crossed the frontier, and the world watched as Russian tanks rolled into Georgia. Suddenly, that speech in Munich didn't feel like history. It felt like a warning that had been ignored. The warning from Munich had become something more than words. The Russian bear had awakened, ready to stir up some trouble.